You either is or you ain't. You do or you don't. You can or you can't. Or you will or you won't. Either way, baby, a good man, well, he's hard to find. Welcome to the One More for the Good Guys podcast, where good guys gather to shed light on the good life, the people, and the good things that make it that way. I'm Mike McGill with my co-host, Jamie Akins. Now, raise your glass, lend us your ear, and let's have one more for the good guys. You either is or you ain't. You do or you don't. You can or you can't. Or you will or you won't. Either way, baby, a good man, well, he's hard to find. Hey, everybody, McGill Billy here.
I'm Jamie.
Coming to you live from the Honky Tonk. We got a good friend of mine, an old friend of mine, and of ours, I should say, and hopefully soon to be yours with us today. For just real quick, we'll get all the normal stuff out of the way, but thanks so much for your support. Please like, subscribe, follow all the social media stuff, as well as the YouTube page. Be sure to visit the websites, onemoreforthegoodguys.com and goodguyscigars.com. And without further ado, our friend and soon to be yours, Mr. Matt Woods. How you doing, Matt?
I'm good, fellas. Thanks for having me over.
Oh, hell yeah, man. We were just talking. We were talking the other day on the phone. I say the other day, you know how hillbillies use the other day.
Right.
That's what, a month ago now, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
probably.
like
Yeah, or
that's right.
2 years. But we were talking, and I told Matt, I said, man, I said, when's the last time we actually like laid eyes on each other and seen each other? And I think we had come up with somewhere around maybe a 10-year mark or something.
It's been a long time.
But we remember, I guess, I was trying to think back on it today, especially today, and then the other day as well. But like, when was the first time that we officially met? Do you remember?
Oh, man.
I mean, we've both been around a long while, so
yeah,
it's kind of hard for me to figure out.
It's hard for me to figure out too, and yeah, I can't always trust my memory anyway. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
Shoot, I don't know. Would it have been when the spot was still open? Ever, or would it have been after that?
It would have been after
probably?
that, because I wasn't. I was in Gatlinburg during all those years.
Okay.
I was playing, but I just wasn't playing.
Right.
You know, the Knoxville scene or anything. So it probably been after that. I'm sure. I was thinking maybe it was like probably around Drunk Uncle days.
Yeah,
maybe like Corner Lounge or something like that back in the day.
That might be about right.
Because we had so many people in common as well.
Right.
From guys who had played with you back in the, what was it, Plan A?
Plan A. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Our buddy Eric Keeble.
Yep.
And then of course, you know, at that time Ed Courts owned the corner, and
I bet that's right. I bet that's about right. Which puts it about like mid 2000s, like what would it be, like 5, 6, 7, something like that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Just trying to think when.
Yeah.
They had died. Ed died
somewhere in there. I know that
after Rick, I think.
Yeah, that Plan A band was pretty well over by 2009, so it would have been before whatever.
Yeah,
in the handful of years before that.
Yeah, well, we had ran into each other, and like I say, I think more than anything, I'm sure. Well, I'm not sure of that. I don't know why I said that, but we had probably. I think I'd probably heard about as much. I had heard as much about you probably as you had about me, from just all the people that we had in common.
Right.
But now you're originally from Roane County, right?
Yeah. I'm living out there now too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. And so you went to, where'd you go to high school?
Oliver Springs.
Oliver Springs.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, man, that's beautiful country out there. It's some wild country out there. With the, it's amazing. Like you go out there into places like, anywhere from like Coalfield to Petros to Brushy Mountain, back up to all the way back up to the smokestacks. I mean, it's wild country.
Yeah.
I mean, wilderness.
Yes, sir.
Really no good way to get there either. It's
There's
an
no
interstate
real...
absent area.
That's right.
It's in between two. Yeah.
Yeah. And out where I live, it's like, I don't know, it'll take, 15 minutes at least to get to any town. I didn't live right in Oliver Springs. That's just where the bus route took it. I'm about as far away from Oliver Springs as I am from Kingston or Harriman, and I have a Harriman address out, but I'm just kind of out in the country.
Yeah.
And
that's kind of like it is here a little bit. I went to Carter, but but Mascot too proper is a lot bigger area than what people think.
mm-hmm.
They think about it just being like where the mines and stuff were downtown, basically around here. But it covers a pretty wide area, but
a lot of it uninhabited.
Yeah. A lot of it, older or vacant river frontage or farmland, and very scenic,
right,
in a lot of ways. But at any rate, so in school, was music your thing, or were you what did you?
I mean, so in kind of grade school or high school or whatever, I played in junior high band, maybe my freshman year of high school, but I was into music, you know what I mean? And like at whatever point it became guitars. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna rock and roll and guitars.
Right.
Right. So, but yeah, that's kind of, I mean, I wasn't good at, I wasn't good at it.
Who was,
but,
at that point,
I was, I was writing bad songs before I even knew how to play a guitar, really. Right. You know what I mean? Just kind of like trying to mimic heavy metal bands I liked or something.
So that bug kind of hit you all at the same time, or first, you think, the writing part of it? Because you churn out a lot of material.
Yeah, I mean, pretty early on anyway. Like, I mean, when I finally did start like learning how to play guitar proper, my dad had an old guitar and could kind of pick a little bit, not much. So I would tinker with that, and he had some books, and then I got a guitar at maybe my own first real guitar at 13 or 14 years old. And at that, I was actively trying to learn songs, but it kind of, at least in my memory, it kind of came on pretty quickly that I was trying to put my own songs together. By the time I was in high school, I figured, I think I kind of figured I was wanted to be some sort of writer. Right. Maybe not even a songwriter, maybe a poet or kind of like writing short stories and stuff like that I was into.
But you're much more in tune with the literary world and and writing.
Yeah, all that was kind of like, it all just sort of went hand in hand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I like to read as a kid, so I was always reading books and then writing stories. And
well, they say anybody that picks up a guitar, the first thing they want to do is sing. I've heard that before. I don't know if that's real cliche or not, or if it's, but once I heard it, I was like, yeah, I could see that. I mean, because, if you know 3 chords, my God. Yeah. Hell, I don't know, but maybe about 5 now.
We don't play more than 4.
Yeah.
So you don't need them.
And that's got me around the world and back a time or two.
Right.
But What was your first guitar? Do you remember?
Yeah, absolutely. It came out of the Sears catalog.
Oh, nice.
It was Dean.
Dean.
I still have it. Like
nice.
my grandparents bought it for me.
That's cool.
Between like 8th grade and freshman year of high school. It looks like a guitar that came out of the late 80s. It's kind of black and blue crackle with a whammy bar and a sharp edge on the headstock.
Oh, so your first was an electric then?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I got an electric and a little 15-watt amp. Like I said, I was into rock and roll, man. It was a couple of years later before I ever got an acoustic guitar.
So what time, when were you born? What time frame was this? How old are you?
It was 2:30 on a foggy morning.
Yeah. Oh, he's a rider.
I'm a bicentennial baby.
Okay.
So I went into high school in 90. I graduated high school in 94.
Okay,
So
yeah.
we're talking like late 80s, early 90s kind of stuff. Like on the cusp of that, glam rock and heavy metal turning into alternative
Sure.
kind of grunge stuff.
Right.
When I was a kid.
Yeah.
And the country music was always just kind of like the bedrock, like that. Those were the records my dad played. Like I remember him coming home from work and, putting a record on. Like when I was
going to be a
younger.
question I ask a lot of people because I never really grew up listening to a lot of music in the house. If we listened to music, we were always in the car. There was never really, the radio was never going or playing records and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
sounds like you were just a little bit different on that regard.
There was always music in the car, and there was not always music. It wasn't a daily occurrence that he'd come home and put a
Right.
record on, but it did happen often enough. And when it did happen, it was always like Merle Haggard and Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson and kind of
Thank
like,
God for that.
yeah,
Shit.
and that, those records don't ever do me wrong.
Yeah.
Like I don't ever get tired of them.
No.
That's the thing about some of this music. Sometimes it'll have its moment. You'll grow out of it. You'll move past it. But those records,
No.
they're solid, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, they're standards. They're new standards.
Well, I always felt like with Haggard, I got in a big Johnny Cash kick there for a little while because, I got in this kick to where I was playing in Gatlinburg all the time. So I had, a 40-mile, however long it was, 45-minute drive every morning
Each way.
each way. And music was always, I don't know. I think when I first really got to start doing it for a living, it struck me that it was, I was like a big sponge, I just wanted more of it all the time. And, I was always a Haggard fan. I probably was a George Jones fan first and foremost, the very, from the beginning. But then in my early to mid 20s, I started getting into more Johnny Cash and stuff like that. And I remember getting some box sets and different things and listening to a lot of it. And just remembered, like, I never knew he was I knew he was a big star, and I never thought he was the greatest singer by any means. But you go back and you listen and you find out that he wrote shit like Ira Hayes and The Man in Black and all these things that What Is Truth, and all these songs. It's like, holy cow, this guy's a lot bigger deal than I ever thought he was. He was more faceted than I ever thought he was. But
A lot of people don't know that about him. Sorry, I was just thinking out loud because he's the one. You go to Nashville right now, and it's Pigeon Forge for country music now, and it's Johnny Cash every damn where.
Yeah,
you get that picture on a T-shirt in every place. So.
And what's so silly or crazy, ironic. I don't know what the right word is to describe it, but like the music that let him go, the city that didn't want him.
Oh yeah.
But came back, and he was celebrated more in the popular culture of the rock and roll world than ever.
Well, he got to be profitable again, so he got to be. They liked him. It's all about money out there. So,
but
it's funny though that you're basically the same generation as me. So, and we've talked about this a lot. It's like we always had music in the car too. Always, my dad always had on, but my dad. I don't even know if he's ever had a record in his hand in his life. He never been like, hey, it's never.
Yeah.
But I grew up listening to that same kind of stuff, but it's all in the car. So it's interesting that you
like in the car on the radio.
Yeah, mostly. We didn't even have a tape deck for a while, and they never had an 8-track or anything. But my mama was really into music. But it's interesting that we're similar generations, all of us, in that. Just down the road here, your daddy's playing record, and I mean,
that was always WIVK.
Yeah, it was always.
WIVK, it was always on.
That's right,
and it was always, that era, that time, and I liked a lot of it. And I was a big mimic as a kid, so I'd always try to imitate people, and so when I'd hear a lot of those songs. I think that's where kind of I started developing my interest in, I kind of sound like that guy.
Yeah.
I could do this or I could do that. And then, so I had a brother that sang, for years in church, and then went professional with a quartet and everything. So, and then we were in church a lot, for many years. And so, there was always the old redback hymnal, the old church hymnal. And, I still know I still have some of the page numbers memorized by song.
We did that too. My mom played piano in the church, so we were there every service.
Yeah.
Like growing up.
Yeah.
Kids singing in the choir.
Yeah.
You hear those old gospel songs now with the counter bass line lines and
the call and response.
Call and response line. Yeah.
Was it a what denomination? Was it Baptist church?
Baptist.
Yeah.
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 That's a pretty good guess anytime you're talking to somebody from around here.
Yeah.
I like that line in that Michael Reno Herald song that said the Baptists don't own the South, they just own the name. Nice tea ain't for breakfast, and all barbecue ain't the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you came by it honest as well with all that for sure. I wouldn't take nothing for those days either.
No.
I mean, I think it rooted a lot of really good values and a lot of stuff, morals and things that I still use today in making decisions and different things, probably not as much as maybe I should at some times or another, but I always, and I say that because a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot of people, I have known some people that would be like, we were a church family, or you should come, or okay, perfect example. So I had a guy doing some equipment work for me around here, doing some grading and stuff. And he was a classic. I'm sure that he probably had a little church, probably had 100 people on Sunday, and, just a classic.
Schofield Bible.
I've been in 1,000 of them.
Yeah.
From singings to
weddings,
homecomings to weddings to everything. And he wasn't too sure about me.
Well, nobody is.
No, yeah.
Realistically.
And he said he was talking to me about church. And I said, yeah. And we was carrying on the conversation. And I think I was surprising him with, a few things because he'd start trying to say stuff in the Bible and different things. And we were playing a little ping pong. It was good,
Yeah.
And,
Colin?
but then he was like, you should come out to visit us at church sometime. And, but there was that, after he said it like that, he probably ain't going. And I was like, well, yeah, man, I'll come visit your church. I said, I grew up in church. And then we started talking, and I don't know. You get that sometimes with people, they look at you with a tattoo or long hair. And it's like, and, rightly so, I guess sometimes, but you can't,
people are quick to make judgment, good, bad, or otherwise.
Well, they got to put you in some kind of category.
That's right.
And
I would agree with you. A lot of the lessons learned. Here's the thing about it, in my opinion, is these are universal lessons.
Right.
And they come from a lot of different sources and a lot of different religions. Mm-hmm. I think where it gets complicated for me is when somebody is absolutely certain that their brand of these same lessons is the one and only brand of these very lessons.
Yeah.
When the lesson's the same.
Yeah.
So that I started to have some issues.
Very good way of putting it.
I started to have some issues with that by the time I was, in my adolescence.
Yeah. Did you revolt?
I mean, I haven't been to church in ages.
Yeah.
But that don't mean the lessons didn't take, and that don't mean that I would ever challenge anybody else's.
And I don't mean so much as now, but like as a kid, were you able to? I mean, I guess until you got of age, you had to. Mom still played the organ, still played the piano, and you still had to go.
Yeah.
But we were kind of like the rest of us, formulating all this in our heads of being like,
yeah.
They reading the same thing I've read.
We had this talk earlier
it's
today.
Right there.
I have. I've been wondering what they've been reading.
Yeah, I know.
Well, see, they've been reading.
That's the answer.
I said something earlier about my grandmother used to call them Bible thumpers, and she was very Christian.
Yeah,
very, and told him earlier. I said there's a lot of people thumping them, but not opening them.
Yeah,
that's the problem. I was thinking about something when you were talking about your Dean guitar and whatever, about the era that we grew up in music. It's like underestimated as far as its importance goes. Because if you think about from a night, like I became musically aware in about 1982 or 3. You'd heard songs. Like the first song I can remember on the radio was Shake Your Booty by KC and the Sunshine Band. I looked it up. 77. Of course, Mama told me it was like shaking your boot, not your.
Yeah.
But if you think about that, starting in the 80s, all of us, I know you did, I know I did, because you used to play Van Halen on the church
on the
wagon bus.
The gospel bus.
On the gospel bus.
On the Eruption and Running with the Devil.
You had this transition from rock and roll from the 70s to the 80s, and then this big hair metal combined with, and then here comes this thing, hip hop. I remember the first time I heard Run DMC, and I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, MTV was huge.
Yeah. That came
in our generation.
Right. When they played music still.
Getting turned on to new stuff.
Oh, stuff and oftentimes stuff you weren't getting on the radio locally.
Oh, no.
Not by any stretch.
Oh, no. And think about, we'll just take from 85 to 95, that stretch right there. Okay. Big hair metal, hip hop, grunge, West Coast Seattle, Nirvana, all that, and then new country in a 10-year span. Right there. Boom, there it is.
Oh yeah,
drinking from a fire hose. And I think every one of us, no matter what we play now,
right,
and a resurgence of, I don't know what you call it, but like almost like a resurgence, like another British invasion too.
Yeah, there's a little.
You had all that stuff.
Well, and not to mention the pop stuff, with Michael Jackson and Prince and all that stuff coming along. It's like, but all of us went through a phase of rock and roll guitar, metal. Everybody, I played Def Leppard until I wanted.
Oh yeah.
High and dry.
Oh yeah,
that was the record.
Yeah,
that was the album.
And then we got, our 8th grade dance was the theme was that Aerosmith song "Angel" from Permanent Vacation. Remember that?
Yeah.
But anyway, we all went through.
Record that was.
Yeah,
that was a great record.
They only got 2 number ones. You can believe that? Aerosmith's only got 2 number 1 hits.
Really?
Yeah, like on Billboard one.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's interesting that everybody we've had come in here that's our age all had a metal phase, or had some experience where.
Oh yeah, man.
I remember Bon Jovi had those on MTV, like you said, but like they had that stadium rock and he was running across. I was like, holy shit, man. That's the coolest dude ever lived right there, man. That New Jersey album came out.
So good.
Like, wow.
My cousin got to go to that. I think it was on New Jersey, that tour in Knoxville. I don't know if it was at the Civic Coliseum or Thompson Bowling or wherever it was. And I did not get to go. Oh man, like talk. I was.
Were you just dejected?
Man, I was displeased.
Oh man,
went home, kicked the dog.
That would have been around 1988.
That's right.
So that would have been pre Thompson Bowling because I didn't think they finished it till like 89 or
is that right?
Somewhere in there.
Yeah, so it would have been probably the Civic Coliseum then.
They had a tune called Bad Medicine.
Yes, sir.
And that
remember that
video, MTV, he had these like
medicine.
Yeah. I mean, man, everybody wanted to be in a metal band, man, in the 80s. So I think it's cool that all of us went through a phase.
Oh man, I was a Huey Lewis junkie.
Oh Lord,
I fucking loved Huey Lewis, and I still do.
Yeah, Back to the Future is still one of my favorite movies, man.
Taking what I'm giving because I'm working for a living.
Yeah,
man, that dude can sing in the sky too.
He really could.
His stuff is high. Anyway,
but it's funny because. I told you this and our listeners this, but like back in the day, my mom had this friend, a lady named Sandy Wise, and she brought me. She was a huge music fan, but her heyday was that year of, like 55, 57, right. When that first big explosion of everything hit. Mm-hmm. And she's the one that turned me on to that stuff as a pre-teenager of stuff, Fats Domino and Chuck Berry, Elvis. Little Richard and Elvis and the Platters, the Four Tops, all of that stuff, and Jackie Wilson. And man, I was blown away.
Yeah. It's still.
Oh yeah.
Still, every
sure.
time I hear it, still, my God, man.
I remember my mom. So, when it came to like my musical education, whatever, a lot of that did kind of like, I would say my dad would come home and that was always classic country kind of stuff for the most part. As a little kid, I was very much into Alabama, records, but my mom, she's never so she played piano in church, but she's never been the kind of music fan that would know anybody by name. You know what I mean? Like, oh, here's that song that's sung by so and so and so. But she did have a box of 45s, just kind of like a little carrying case, had the handle on it.
Mama did too. And, brown. It was brown.
Yeah.
A little push button on the side. You take a strap off and open it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she gave that to me, like just that box of records at whatever point. So, and that was all that was almost exclusive, kind of like 50s, early 60s kind of stuff. And I would play that. I remember like being little. I mean, little, like had little toy record player kind of. I mean, it wasn't a toy. It worked like it was a record player, play records, but it had the Smurfs on it. You know what I mean? And so I had this box of like 50s and early 60s, kind of like oldies. You know, my little Smurfs record player that I could listen to them on. You know, as a kid.
I had a very similar experience. That's how I was introduced to music, period, was my mama had 45s like that. And one of the first songs I ever heard was Johnny Be Good. She had Johnny Be Good 45, and on the other side was My Dingling. Mm-hmm. The only number one Chuck Berry ever had was My Dingling. Remember that trivia question?
I did not know that was the only number one he ever had.
And it's alive. The cut is a live version. Uh-huh. And I wore that out, man.
Yeah.
And she had like
at some college or something.
Yeah.
Where it was recorded live.
And she had a copy of Average White Man Cut the Cake. Heard that one, man? That, you know, and then she had one of Car Wash theme.
Oh, yeah.
Rolls Royce. You know, so I had the same thing happen. The same thing. Had a Fisher Price one. No, it was old Fisher Price record player.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, while you all were bathing with your rubber duckies and your fucking Smurfs, I had a job. No, I didn't. No, it's funny, man. I've still and some of that music still just like, I mean, it just, I still love it.
Oh,
I mean, I love Fats Domino, man.
Yeah.
What a singer. And Little Richard never got enough credit.
Fact.
I mean,
that dude was pure
lightning
talent.
in a bottle.
Pure talent.
But, well, that's, what did your dad do for a living?
He worked, a handful of different jobs. He worked steel mill. He was a carpenter when I was real little.
Yeah.
He did like carpentry and worked at a hardware store and steel mill. And then, by the time I was maybe a early teen or, you know, junior high age or whatever, he got on at a aluminum recycling plant down in Rockwood.
Yeah.
And he worked down there.
Mom was
closed.
Always homemaker, and
she was a school teacher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dang. You couldn't get away with nothing.
Get away with a thing, man.
I mean, man. Played the piano in church and a teacher. You couldn't get away with nothing. I bet you did, though.
You know. Nobody had cell phones back then. It was easier to get away with something.
Hey, I tell everybody every day it's a hell of a lot harder being a criminal these days than back when I was coming up. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. So you when you first got here, you was talking about, so you went to UT?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I went to UT and pursued and graduated with a creative writing degree.
Oh, nice.
With an English degree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that makes sense. Because like I was saying, you seem to always be turning out material. You're always writing. I think I'm much more of one of those writers that writes just experience or something. You know, I don't ever write just to write.
Uh-huh.
I've written a few songs like that, but the other certainly outweighs, is more than just saying, "Hey, I'm going to write today."
Yeah.
You know, I should be more like that, because it would make you be more proactive and you'd get some stuff out.
I don't know. I got during like the COVID lockdown during 2020, it was the most kind of disciplined I've ever been as a writer. I mean, we had nothing else to do. Had to wake up and put my mind to something, So so I don't know. I formed some habits, some good habits, some of which I've tried to hold on to. I wish I'd held on to the disciplined writing habit. But for the most part, I've more often been kind of somebody who works off of inspiration,
Yeah.
you know, and would need to have some like alone time and be able to really focus on it. But
are you still writing creative stuff that's not music? You still writing stories or
not as much as I wish? It's something I aspire to do. Like it's
Yeah.
something I keep threatening to do. I've got ideas, all manner of story ideas in my head, and like starts and pieces here and there. The things that I've just never completed.
Right.
But I mean, in part because of that 2020 year and just kind of like getting up every morning. I would get up. I mean, you can't force inspiration, but you can sit down and write, and
you can get in the habit.
You can get in the habit of doing it. And I had, years of just like random thoughts, lines, couplets, half verse, chorus, whatever.
Yeah.
In a notes app on the phone. So on days, I just wake up, and if I didn't have something on my mind or something that I was inspired to work on and inspired to play, I just go through that and see if anything hit me, and then kind of find something, work on it. Like, I'd like to get back to that, or I'd like to say I'm still doing that, but I'm not really these days.
Well, for, there was that phase of my musical career, which wasn't really much of a career, but personally, where you go through and you're convinced by people around you that you got to write when you're inspired and whatever else, and discipline is kind of a bad word, I've got to feel it or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you figure out that you never got anything done.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, if I don't start, putting my hand to the plow, and we talk about it all the time. It's like one of our buddies that's been on the show twice, Brandon Fusen. He just churns out material, man. I mean, he just records all the time, and he's what I would call prolific as hell.
Yeah.
And I think as musicians, everybody, we're just so perfection oriented. It's like we don't want to put out it unless it's perfect,
right,
or whatever else. And that makes it stifles you. You know what I'm saying?
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, and at some point you gotta get it out, because there's only so much room in, right?
Yeah.
And that's the hard part, is like being okay that it's, so you wrote a stinker.
Yeah.
It ain't going to go anywhere.
That's right.
Big deal.
That's right.
But you can use that.
Well, you got it out of your way. It's not there clogging anything up.
That's the thing. But you can use that sometimes as, like Vin Scully said about statistics, people use statistics like drunks use lampposts for support, but not illumination.
Yeah. That's great.
So
they nailed it.
And you can get in your own way with that.
I think so.
I mean, it was like when we first decided to do the podcast, we kept saying, well, we'll do it this way. This will be our topic. This will be our thing. This will be this. It'll be that. And the whole time while we were trying to come up with what it was going to be, a week goes by, now a month went by, 2 more months. And then it was got to about 6 months. And we talked about so much good stuff, just sitting over here in recliners and smoking cigars. It was just like, finally, we were both just like, we just need to roll tape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll direct us to where it's supposed to go at some point in time.
Find its own way. And it has to some degree.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're still finding a way a little bit to some degree.
You will.
I think you always will be at some point.
I think you always should. You know what I mean? Like it should always, whatever it is you're doing, whatever pursuit, if it's a creative pursuit, should be evolving and kind of, turning and twisting and kind of reshaping and kind of like, or at least reevaluate a thing every now and then. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'd agree with that.
I mean, it needs to be a reflection of life, and life is always changing, whether we want it to or not. I mean, just.
Yeah, I get hung up a lot in the writing and songwriting and stuff. Sometimes, I get hung up in the fact that I've already heard that before, or I've already heard it in that style, or I've already written something like that.
Uh-huh.
I want to do something else or some different way or a different style mainly. But then you have to kind of look at it to a degree that you're like, well, your talent is going to limit you to some degree of what you're able to put out and or produce. I think I find a lot of excuses just
fuck off, not do nothing.
Yeah, well, there's an art to it.
It really is.
I found like
a lot of hard work and fucking off.
At whatever point, it's certainly kind of like coming out of rock and roll bands and starting, like when I started to make records, under my name, and they were kind of leaning more into like country music. And so like when I was young, as a younger writer, I was a little more, I was a little hesitant to do something if I felt like it had already been done, or say something if it had already been said. Or so I was letting that kind of thinking get in the way, or like, well, I need to, and there's nothing wrong with editing. There's nothing wrong with editing things down, trying to refine it.
Sure.
But I would just kind of let some of those thoughts and put a halt to things, or make me go in a way that maybe the song itself wasn't naturally wanting to go, and I would kind of force it into a different direction, and not always to the benefit of the song.
Right.
So kind of coming out of that, and like, when I started to write songs for that manifesto, that first kind of like solo album, leaning more into country music stuff, I just tried to let them come out like however they were coming out.
Yeah.
And I found that the more I was able to get out of my own way, the more songs were coming, and they didn't all make the record, but they did all come out, or they did all kind of like get out of me, even if they didn't get released to the world. Right. They were kind of
sure.
Well, and they got out of your way,
and they got out of the way.
Yeah.
And they can sit wherever they sit, and maybe you find some spare parts for something else in them later down the line.
Well, I imagine you learn from them too. Either how to do, or what not to do, or how to do, or and I often find too, like I keep all the rough. I still go pen to paper when I write. And I keep all that shit.
Yeah.
So when I find those old notebooks and I start looking back through
sometimes there's some good stuff in there.
Sometimes there's some good stuff in there, but there's always a reminder of where you were.
Oh, yeah. Right.
To me.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like I have some of my dad's handwritten songs, in his handwriting and different stuff that I can remember. He sang that here, or we did this, or I was going through this at that point in time, or
sure,
this was what was happening in life.
Yeah.
So I like that aspect of it too, but I'm with you. I've got more lines and half written, or just a line.
Yeah.
Or even like I've got probably 20 different tracks on voice recordings on the phone that are melodies, or just me whistling a melody or humming a melody.
Yeah, same.
Or doodle-doo-doo-doo, on a melody or whatever. But there should be some intent there to go find those and either move on. Maybe all those were just moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway.
It's good. Like it feels good when you get that kind of like bolt out of the blue and a song hits you.
Oh God.
And you can just, and hell, there it is, that feels about as good as anything could feel like for me.
Oh yeah.
But but if you're always waiting, if you're only waiting on that, you're going to find that you're waiting a long time. I think, you know?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So
you said that when you were a kid that you read a lot. You still reading a lot now?
I do.
What kind of stuff do you read?
Oh, I read a lot of like Southern Gothic style fiction if I'm reading fiction, but I will jump all over the place. Like I listen to a lot of audiobooks now too. I really got into that because, you know,
easier.
So much time on the road.
Yeah.
Like that was one of the things when I was like.
Do you retain it the same way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do?
Well, same way, probably no, but
you retain it nonetheless.
I retain it better.
Okay.
Because I guess because I'm a musician and an auditory hearing it is, you know what I'm saying?
I end up listening to a lot of, not exclusively, but with audiobooks, I'll often end up listening to kind of like nonfiction stuff like autobiographies or histories or that. And occasionally I'll listen to a novel too. But so what I've been trying to do, and I did this to some degree during COVID, I kept I've never been good at keeping a journal.
Yeah.
But when you got nothing else to do, that's a thing that I started, and I don't know, when the world got spinning enough that I was on the road a bunch again, it just all fell to pieces, you know. But it was like as opposed to like a feeling, like how I feel about anything, like I would just keep it as a kind of like a captain's log of the days, even though the days were very much the same day after day after day. But I would I would write down when I finished a book, you know, and I was able to actually sit and read a book, you know. So, but I started doing that this year with like books I've read. Like I'll always have one going that I'm reading when I can sit with it. And then at the same time, often like whatever audiobook I'm listening to when I'm traveling.
Yeah, I do. I double down a lot like that.
I can tell you I started, so Spotify has audiobooks now.
Yeah. If
you have an account with Spotify, they give you 15 hours.
Yeah.
And I hit my limit at an hour short of finishing.
So you got to wait till next month.
I got to wait another couple of weeks, or I guess I could pay and top it off.
Sure.
But it's I guess it was published this year. It's called Nuclear War, a Scenario by Annie Jacobson, I think is her name. It's whatever interviews with all of these sort of scientists and government, you know, higher ups. Like it's based in fact, based on what we can know or what's declassified enough. But it's fucking terrifying.
Oh, I bet. I'm sure it is.
Yeah. I told my girlfriend, I'm like, well, I ran out of listening time. I got another hour left. We were talking yesterday. I'm like, I got another hour left of this nuclear war scenario book. She's like,
I can get myself out of this fetal position and out of the closet long enough.
She's like, you might not need to listen to it right now.
Timing may be off.
Yeah. Right. Maybe give it a few weeks. Be good for you.
Yeah. Could be a reason for that, right?
Good Lord.
So, did you start performing right after you came out of college, or?
Kinda, yeah. I started performing I think it's probably just the last semester of my senior year. I was going out and I was watching, you know, I was going out and listening to folks play several times a week. There was a duo in town called Traveling Man that played. There was a Between the Buns in Farragut, and I had a restaurant job at Ruby Tuesday in Farragut. So we would go down and these guys were playing, and Tall Paul was playing a few times a week, and Dave Landio was playing. And anyway, I was going to all these kind of like dudes in the corner of the bar singing songs, like, which was basically what I was doing in the corner of any party.
Right.
And I'm like, well, maybe I could do this. And I made friends, and a couple of those guys started letting me get up on their breaks and sing some songs. Nice. And I'm like, well, maybe I should buy a PA and see if I can book some shows. I knew a bunch of songs.
Yeah.
I'd been in a band. You mentioned Petros earlier. I played one summer. Might have been summer after my freshman or sophomore year of college. I ended up in a band with some buddies, a couple of buddies I'd been in like a little high school garage band with.
Yeah.
You know, we never did anything other than just make noise in a garage. Sure. But they had gotten into like a cover band that played this little roadside beer joint in Petros, like right on the highway, just real close to where if you're coming out of Oliver Springs, right where you would take a ride if you were going up to Brushy Mountain.
Okay.
It was just kind of like right before that, called CJ's. And, I had the summer free and you want to play rhythm guitar in this band? We're the house band. Like Friday, Saturday night, I was in that bar at like 18 years old every week, Friday, Saturday. And that's an education to get too. You know what I mean? Like, that's different than going to the
Dewdrop Inn on the side of the highway and damn Petros. Yeah, that's an education.
It's an education, all right, man. It was a lot different than the lap in the library down on campus, you know.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, man, that's so funny. So you started there, and then just kind of went more solo stuff, or when did you start doing like the solo thing?
Well,
much later.
So that would have been I did that summer in that little bar in Petros, and then it would have been probably sometime right around the first of 1998 or the end of 1997 where I started, like I got a little PA and I started booking just the first handful of shows.
Right.
Little bar, like kind of dude in the corner of the bar shows.
Yeah.
So I was doing that for a while before I ever put a band. I put a band together, I guess in sometime like late in 98. I put a band together called Magpie Suite, and we played, you know, the band we stayed relatively busy really, but it was just kind of like, we stayed relatively busy regionally. So like most weekends we'd play one or two nights and here, there, wherever. And then I was doing solo shows throughout,
right,
you know, the same time.
Yeah. When did you start the Plan A and all that stuff? Was that, obviously is later than that, but when did you decide that like, this is what I wanted? I mean, not necessarily what you want to do, but like this could be lucrative enough for me to do.
It was early on.
Yeah.
Pretty well. Like I started making a living with music exclusively like in maybe 1999. I quit that restaurant job or something.
Yeah.
I just figured out at whatever point, I'm like, well, if I string enough of these, kind of like at that time, for sure. The funny part about it is it was somehow maybe even easier to get paid better in the late 90s and early 2000s in the bar gigs.
Right.
Than it is now, or at least it was a push, you know, so that money went further anyhow. So, sometime maybe middle of 1999 into 1999, I kind of started doing it full time. And that first band was touring some. And as I kind of got my head around wanting to do that more, like be on the road more and kind of like try to expand out and build an audience outside of Knoxville.
Right.
It just got kind of tricky. So that band lasted from at some point in 98 until 2003. But the other band, I mean, we're all still super, super close. Dave DeWitt was playing drums in that band, like at the end of it anyway. But it was hard. It was always hard to kind of like get everybody to have the time to get out and go do like more substantial runs. So when that ended, I put together Plan A, and I don't know. I foolishly thought like, I'm gonna find some younger dudes, guys with less commitment, and we'll go on the road all the time. And that didn't work either. You know? But we did kind of like cut our teeth a little you kind of like on more touring than I'd ever done. We started like touring like a couple of weeks at a time, several times a year, like East Coast mostly, like anywhere from like New York City to Miami.
Yeah. I didn't was Trish Jean's husband now.
Grant. Yeah.
Grant. He was playing
in Plan A.
He was playing bass.
Yep. Yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah. For the first, so Plan A would have run 2003 until maybe the end of 2008.
Yeah.
Or something, or maybe even like into the beginning of 2009. Yeah. And Grant was playing bass in that most of or at least half of those years, those first years. And then Eric Keeble played bass for a little while. And then there was this other fellow played bass for a little while. And, it ended up having the same sort of a different thing from the first band. Like the first band was pretty much all the same players throughout for the most part. We had a couple of different drummers, but the Plan A thing, because I was trying to push it to be a road band, we had a little more of a revolving door of players. Like somebody's just kind of like, well, I can't be gone for 2 weeks. I'm like, well, we got to find somebody who can,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It would have been maybe 2009 when I started touring solo. Like most of the solo stuff I was doing prior to that was all, regionally.
I know that's when I first heard of you it was Matt Woods and Plan A. But, so now, you had many, iterations of that through the years. I know, but then you figured out long division. Math wasn't hard to do if there wasn't no long division involved.
Yeah, there's that.
So what are you doing now?
Now I'm mostly touring solo. Yeah. So,
kind of got you set.
in 2009 or whatever. From that point, so the first record that was my name on it, that Manifesto record, that came out in the spring of 2011. So I was on the road a little bit before that, kind of like just building however much I can build and kind of playing a mix of these new songs I was writing and old band songs and whatever else.
Right.
But from we'll say 9 until 2015, it was almost exclusively solo touring, except for a few years there where part of the time I would run a 2-man show with me and a drummer, which was fun to do. That was a blast. Like we'd set up beside each other, both on the front of the stage, and kind of do this 2-man act. But in 2015, I started carrying a band, especially in the markets that had grown to a point I could justify, asking for enough money to pay a band, or whatever. And so from 15 until COVID hit, it was about half and half.
Yeah,
I go out, do some band work, come back, do some solo stuff. But coming back out of it, it's been less of that. I just got home from a band run. Just a short little run down in Florida, but it's a whole lot more solo road work. Yeah. Again.
Have you got any new stuff out now? Or you got anything you want to plug?
Yeah. So this year is the 10-year anniversary of With Love from Brushy Mountain, the record I put out in 2014. So to celebrate that, this little run we did with the band, it was all down in Florida. We were playing the record top to bottom. We've got it anniversary pressing, 180 gram, 3 different color variants, gatefold. We kind of leaned into that, and I re-recorded all of the songs, stripped down, just acoustic, just me and a guitar, kind of sitting and singing those songs the way I sing them. If it's just me now,
right?
And as a matter of fact, all of that drops digitally on streaming services tomorrow or tonight at midnight or something, I think.
Okay. So anywhere they get their music, they can find it.
Yeah. But in addition to that, like that's, you know, that material's all from that record that came out 10 years ago. I've got but I'm sure in some way or another, whether it's all acoustic now or not, I mean, because I understand that. I mean, I'm still doing songs that, you know, the first one I ever heard of mine on the radio, I still do it. Yeah.
But even though they're eerily similar, they've probably changed a lot too.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I think songs morph a lot of times. For me, they do.
They do for me.
And sometimes it's from whether I do it by myself or whether I do, or whether or not we got somebody new in the band or another style of player or something. And because I was always big on, well, this is how it goes, but you know,
you want people
feel free to put their flavor on it.
Right.
I mean,
same.
I'm not going to tell this guy how to play piano.
Right.
I may say, hey, give me that Johnny Johnston right there through, you know, bars 12 through 16 but probably not even do that because he already knows that's what the song needs anyway.
Right.
But, so I'm sure even though they're older songs and stuff that's been released, I'm sure they've changed a bit with whether deliveries or tempos or, and whatever. So I would still think that would be something kind of new.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. It feels good. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to have it out. And I think folks are excited to hear the songs stripped down. I mean, maybe they've heard me play some of them live that way, or maybe not. You know, there's a bunch of songs from that record that hadn't really been in set in a long time. So it depending on when a person may have gotten on board and started listening to any of my music, they may have never heard them. There's a couple of songs, like I said, we did the record top to bottom with the band this past weekend, and was working up that set and kind of like working with a completely different band. Yeah. It's almost a completely different band every single time I put a band together these days. But it occurred to me, I'm like, oh shit, like 2 or 3 of these songs have never been performed on a stage with a band. Right. You know what I mean? Like not ever, not one time. Like, because back then, like in 14, I wasn't carrying a band. So that record came out and I had the 2-man show. So surely we played all the songs from it, but never as a full band. I know for a fact, a couple of them never did. Yeah. So that was actually pretty fun to do.
Well, yeah.
You know, and
it's when you say, you know, here's a new one for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's new to you too. I mean, essentially. And then like you say, there's always going to be, there's always going to be a percentage of new people too that has never heard any of it.
Right.
And I think about that a lot because I know when I play solo, when I first started playing solo, I played down at Jimmy's.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first gig ever to go out with just me and a guitar. And I played it weekly. So I played it every Thursday night, and it was like, man, I got to do something a little different next Thursday.
Right.
Or I got to put this, I need to learn 2 new songs, or I need to put them in different order.
Right.
It's always kind of that, stick and move,
Mm-hmm.
And then,
especially if you're in like a weekly like that, you kind of, you want to give people something.
Yeah.
And there are things that folks get used to, like if they're coming to see a show that's performed weekly or whatever, there are like things, there are folks that are going to show up. And I know, cause I was one of the folks showing up to these other dudes' shows every week, like, cause I knew they were going to play this song or that song or whatever. And I liked the way they did it or whatever. But, I think, changing it up and trying to keep a little variety in there or whatever. But you're also right in the fact that like there's always going to be some people that don't know any of it first time around.
I was telling a good buddy of mine that one time, I was like, I'm just getting tired playing this same old shit.
I get that all the time.
That same old shit's paying your bills right now. And that same old shit, there's a lot of people ain't heard it yet.
That's right.
You're really good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've polished it. It's your heavies.
Yeah.
So, lay your set out accordingly.
Yeah.
Put you those workout songs in between 3 heavies,
right.
To where now you can get them back with a block of 2 or 3,
right.
even if it's familiar to you.
Yeah.
But you can do it with your eyes closed and it's going to be good every time. And
right. I catch myself like telling here's another thing that for me with that same thing, because I'll get tired of playing the same songs or often what feels like the same set or like, okay, well, this song always follows this song or X, Y, Z in that regard. Or setting songs up with story. Like you work out that stage banter for songs and and then like 2 or 3 times through the same town, I'm like, well, hell, I told y'all this story last time. And I try to remind myself, there's surely people here this time that weren't here last time. And maybe maybe that's not it. Maybe I'm more concerned about that than anybody else would be. And, because I don't know, like processing how time moves is a little wonky and it changes as we get older too. Like I'll be in whatever town and be like, well, hell, I was just here. And then, oh, not really. That was a year ago or something like that. So I try not to get too bummed out.
Well, you better not, because then you're just going to be disappointed all the time. But
I got probably a new record that's 90% in the can. I've got to trim it back and figure out what goes on it and what doesn't. But it's kind of been sitting in the same spot of incomplete.
Yeah.
For longer than I wish I'd let it sit here. But the first single from that is ready to come out. I'm hoping to shoot a music video for it before it drops, and hoping all that can happen before the end of the year. And so that can maybe start a little momentum moving forward to getting the rest of that record finished and maybe start to leak these things. That seems to be the way things are working a little these days. I hate trying to always chase this moving target that is a online algorithm. You know what I mean? But it seems like putting a song out, putting a single out here and there, just kind of however frequently you can do it is doing a better job at kind of keeping people engaged with you, in a time where the attention span is that of a gnat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We know exactly what you mean. I mean, this is all this was still a new world to us, but when we first started, it was a really big new world. And, giving props to Jamie, if it hadn't been for him being able to, having the ability to know a lot of this stuff off the front end, who knows? I mean, I've probably been still sitting around talking about it.
Yeah.
But we had to learn the audio, and then had to learn all the different things, and then had to learn how to talk on camera again, had to learn how to, my part of communication and booking a guest or coming up with ideas, and totally tapped into another creative side of the brain for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we were like, well, we got this figured out. Let's do some video.
Yeah.
And then, I get it. But, we're both under the idea and the understanding that, like, as long as we're having fun with the things, then we're just going to continue to do what we want to do. And being consistent, we put out an episode every Monday for a year.
Yeah.
Over now.
Wow.
But that's, but it's been fun. I mean,
if it wasn't
enjoyed
fun,
it.
we wouldn't want to do it, but it's been a learning curve because social media, especially because we both detest it with a passion,
man,
but it's absolute necessary evil in order to get people to engaged, and there's so many of them. And then anyway, at least part of it wasn't a learning curve because I've done all this other for years.
Yeah.
So it was nice not to have to struggle with everything that we've done. To get to a point to where it's fun and easy.
Right.
So.
But, coming back out of the pandemic and everything, and then just being back around people, I mean, it took a little while of, being able to really be good at a conversation again.
Yeah.
Because you've been pent up with your thoughts and so much stuff, and it's just like I want to get it all out. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Because that's a part of my life and a part of my business that I enjoyed so much of that came along with the music.
Sure.
Was meeting people and having conversations over a drink or things like that. But I think this would be a good place to hear a word from our sponsors. Hey folks, if you're looking for a cool, eclectic place with an outside patio, plenty of UT sports games, cold beer, and live music on the weekends, then look no further than one of our homes away from home, Trailhead Beer Market, located at 1317 Island Home Avenue in South Knoxville, Tennessee. Trailhead is South Knoxville's first beer market, situated on the banks of the Tennessee River and in the backyard of the Urban Wilderness and Iams Nature Center. You can find more info on Facebook and Instagram about specials, live acts, and the goings-on, and be sure to tell them McGill and Jamie sent you, and have one more for the good guys. So after all that, you were talking about you had you moved to Nashville in like 16, you said?
Yeah.
What took you out there? Just to change the scenery?
Some things had changed. Was no longer in a relationship and sold the house.
And gotcha.
I don't know, kind of like looking at that, I don't know. I just felt like kind of if I'm going to like look for a new place to live and kind of make a fresh start one way or another, like it was an opportunity to try that somewhere else,
Yeah,
like,
sure.
At the time I kind of narrowed it down, like, it's spent all those years kind of traveling, being in other parts of the world, other parts of the country. And
so you got to be able to kind of have a little bit of a preconceived notion of what you might like. And
right. And I wanted to live a little, I don't know. I was looking for a city that was maybe a little bigger, kind of, I don't know. I narrowed it down to Chicago or Nashville. That's what it kind of came down to. And at the time, I had a bunch of friends in both towns. So there was a community, like a pre-existing sort of like support system and network of friends and other musicians and whatnot in each of those towns. And ultimately, I was on the road and I played a show at the Basement in Nashville. And my friend Brian Childs, who had founded and ran this music blog called 9bullets.net. He had moved from Tampa, where he was when I'd met him, to Nashville, and he'd been out there a couple of years. By 16, I think he maybe moved up there like late 14 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was just having a conversation with him about like what I knew. I've been going out to Nashville a lot for years at that point, you know. And like I said, I kind of narrowed it down to Chicago or Nashville. And I was just asking him how he liked like actually living there.
Yeah.
You know, and he was, I don't know, he was loving it. He was purposefully living closer to town to be closer to music and things that were going on, and commuting all the way to a job down in Franklin. So we got to talking about it, and he's like, well, you know, that room you crash in when you're on tour, and like, I don't use it. So if you want to move into that room, you know, you move in here. And I'm like, oh shit, that makes that a pretty easy decision, you know, really, like, yeah. And that was kind of the, you know, that's what kind of tipped it in favor of Nashville.
Sure.
And,
place to go.
Yeah. And I like it. I mean, I still like Nashville. My girlfriend's recently moved out there. So if I'm off the road now, I'm kind of splitting time between being out in Roane County, close to my folks out in the country, and being in Nashville, you know.
Yeah. What, did you have, now you say you had, you liked it. Did you work a civilian job, or did you just work, were you just playing music there as well?
I was just playing music, but at that point, it was all like road work. I think we were talking maybe during the break. I was doing 9 or 10 months a year on the road.
Right.
So what it turned into is like, it was different than some people moved to Nashville to try and crack into Nashville. Right. You know what I mean? Try to get a foot in the door and hustle, either whether they're playing the gigs down on Broadway downtown, or if they're trying to like crack into like the songwriter world and the publishing world or whatever. But for me, it was, I continued to kind of like work under the same model I was working under. It's just when I wasn't on the road, I was in Nashville, where there was a community of musicians, and, you know, if I was home, maybe I'd be able to get out and kind of meet some folks and have conversations with people who understood what it is I've done, you know, what it is I was doing, like in broader terms. Right. Play some songwriter shows here and there, you know, but, yeah.
Nice. Right. What brought you back?
COVID, basically. Like, it was the end of 2020, and I had the opportunity to take over the lease in that house we were renting. My buddy was buying a house and kind of moving into a different stage of his life. Right. And, I don't know. I couldn't, at whatever it would have been November of 20, I suppose. I was already in Roane County, quarantined, so that I could be around my parents, for the holidays. When everything started to change, he bought a house and was kind of like moving on. And then I had to decide whether or not I was going to sign a new lease on the house we had been living in by myself, and have that kind of like,
and be gone 9 or 10
and be
months
gone,
out of the year.
or, you know, and then also be looking for, you know, at least one roommate to help kind of cover the expense of it, in a year where none of us had any work for like 8 months. You know what I mean? Like, I hadn't played a show since March, and this was the end of November with no real idea about when that would change. I'm like,
another pretty easy decision.
Yeah. And I was already out in Roane County, kind of hunkered down for the holidays anyway. And like, well, we'll just kind of post up out here for a while, you know? And, turns out like I've been enjoying it. Like, if anything, more than I thought I would, you know, to be honest, like it's good to be close to my folks. You know, they're both thankfully in good health, but they're definitely getting older. And
how old are they now?
75 and 75 and 76. So that's a big benefit. Like, I value that a great deal. I value the quiet. Like, when I'm off, I can kind of just sit and be left alone. Like, A lot of the things that made me want to leave at 17 still exist, but at this age, I don't really have to interact with it. Right. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah. I can just be out there and it's quiet and it's pretty and I've got my family close.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's all valid reasons and good reasons. There's a lot I miss about being in town and living in town. But there's a lot that I remember I like about being here too.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think it's a push.
Yeah.
I miss the spontaneity of being a mile from downtown and just saying, you know, hey, Matt's playing tonight. I forgot all about it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's 7:45 on a Wednesday night or whatever. And you can just pop out.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that kind of changes too as you get a little bit older, because it seems like I have to start talking myself into doing shit now at like 10 o'clock in the morning while I'm having coffee.
Yeah.
I really got to do this today. You know, I really gotta leave home.
Yeah. I get it.
I mean, maybe, I don't know. I could say this, but fuck, I gotta do it, you know, which is crazy to think because, you know, I was always ready to go at a drop of a hat, whatever. I was ready for any adventure anybody wanted to go on, you know?
Yeah.
But I guess that's just part of it too. Things change, you know, as you get older.
Yeah. I relate to every bit of that. So, yeah.
Well, it's almost like I was telling somebody the other day, is like, you know, it's like that old George Carlin bit, Safe at Home, where he was talking about like life and doing it as a baseball analogy.
Yeah.
You're safe at home.
Yeah.
You know, and you made it.
Uh-huh.
No zombies, no tigers, no fucking freaks, nobody, you know, you made it.
Uh-huh.
And then to think about, oh shit, I got to leave. I got everything I want here. I got all my knickknacks and
cigars and
liquor
and a remote control. There's your song.
This thermos and my lamp.
Yeah. This chair, this paddle ball.
Maybe this humidor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but, well, I guess it's a good a time as any too to break the news to everybody. So we teased this a little bit in a few of the earlier episodes in the last, I don't know, maybe over the last 3 or 4, but we're coming up on a time of year that's really near and dear to me, and something that I've been doing for, well, this will be the 12th year now, is the 12th annual Mike McGill Christmas Spectacular. And one of our special guests this year will be none other than Matt Woods.
Yeah, man.
And so we were getting ready to get into this way before, but we do this at the Bijou Theater. We did it. So the first 3 years we did it, it was just a pretty selfish reason just to get all my people together and be able to put on a show and make a little scratch and have everybody that I wanted to be around at Christmas. And then during the 4th year, it became this fundraising effort to benefit the Food for Kids program with Second Harvest of East Tennessee. And, you know, now, 12 years later, I guess the 8th year or the 9th year, the 8th year was, let's see, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Oh, you're talking about 8th year from the beginning?
The 8th year from the beginning was the COVID year. So we had to do it. We just did it in a warehouse and shot it with just me by myself and streamed it.
Right.
but we still did it. We still raised some money, which was good. And then the following year, we were going to do this on the 10th year, but we started having so many people at Barley's where it originally started that we had 400 paying people at Barley's, and it had just gotten too big.
Right.
And as it went on, my dream was to get it to the Bijou, because that's like the jewel, of Knoxville for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so getting it there, we got there in the 9th year. So this is year 12. And we were talking earlier, and we got some feedback of people liked it better at Barley's, or people liked it, we like it better at the Bijou. The funniest one was all these people who had been, that have been to your shows before.
Mm.
And they come up to you and go, golly, we had no idea you guys were that good. And it's like, well, maybe because there's not 400 drunks in this bar room, and it's like an environment to where you got to hear us for the first time.
Yeah.
So there's some of that, but there's also other things that go along with that, and I get asked all the time. And one of them is, I asked you earlier before the break, or when you got here, we were talking about it, and I asked you if you had ever played the Bijou before.
Yeah.
And your answer was,
I have not.
Have not. So, so we've got three newbies this year. I love having new people that's never gotten to be a part of it, because I feel like, first of all, I feel like people can push their limits, because we got a band that can play anything,
right?
Any style. Whatever, this artist wants to do, whether it's an original, like you're doing an original and then you're doing a cover. But so I really invite people to get outside their comfort level and pick some stuff maybe they wouldn't normally get to do, at some time or another.
And boy, they do.
And sometimes. They do. I mean, we've done everything from Bing Crosby to the Kinks to Run DMC.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Every
James
year.
Brown.
Oh, yeah. Every year, Poe and I look at each other and listen to a couple of songs. We're like, this is going to be. we only listen and we'll look at each other.
But part of that joy of it being at the Bijou is, and this is a long-winded way of getting there, but part of that joy of getting it to the Bijou is to afford the opportunities for people like you who have worked diligently for years and years and years and worked hard, and people that I respect for that effort, because that's what I did too all those years, And I think some people get lost and caught up and don't know that those opportunities just don't come along all the time.
Right.
And that it is special to play, to be on that side of the microphone versus the other side.
Right.
As so many people, including ourselves, have been from time to time.
Sure.
So it's a big when you told me that, I was just like, oh shit, okay. Because that makes my Christmas.
Yeah,
that makes me feel good.
I'm so excited.
And
it's a ball, man. We have a good time.
Yeah.
Just to see everybody working in harmony and working together and having such a good night. So I want to say, first of all, thanks for wanting to be a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm really glad that I can have a hand in that of getting you on that side of the microphone.
Yeah.
for once. And, we've got 2 others that have never performed there as well.
Who are the others?
Well, Michael's never.
Okay.
And then Jody, I don't think
she's not
Jody's ever played it before. Now I'll have to double check that to be certain, but
sure.
But that's a big deal to me. And then all of that being said, it's been a way. I'm gonna get the phone calls. I'm gonna get the interviews. I'm gonna get to be talking about this. So I've been kind of prepping myself of like, what really makes it. But at this point, 12 years in, it's almost like, well, if you were ever going to have a legacy, this is probably going to be it.
Yeah.
For somebody to be able to look back on and say, well, this is what this guy did, what time he was here.
Yeah.
So it's really special to me, and I'm really glad you're going to be a part of it. And, we've raised enough money to be able to provide over 100,000 meals for kids, in 19 different counties across rural East Tennessee. So, your time and your talent will be a big part of that this year. And, I couldn't be happier.
Well, man, I'm glad you asked me.
Well,
I'm very much excited.
Well, John and I were talking, John Whitlock, were talking, and he's like, yeah, I was out with Matt last week or whatever it was. And it just was like, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
How long have you known this guy, dummy? And John was going to play, and he had double booked.
Yeah, and he'll be out with JP Harris.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And he said, and when he said that, I was just like, well, hell, I need to call Matt.
Yeah.
I don't know why I've never had him, but I'm glad it's worked out the way that it's worked out. So,
me too.
We got a few things that, and you're going to sing an original song, Wake Me, It's Christmas, or Wake Me on Christmas.
Wake Me on Christmas, yeah.
And we were listening to it a little bit before you got here. I'd listened to it the other night.
It's a great tune.
It's a really good tune.
And we got the right band to play it too. It'll be good. Yeah. I
like the line in it. I'm going to need some assembly.
Oh, yeah.
That's a really good line. I really liked it.
Yeah.
But we do a little thing when we have some guests of just some first kind of, I don't really want to call it rapid fire, but just the first thing that pops into your head, just a few questions if you'd like to.
Well, it was rapid fire, and then Nate just kind of
Nate Barrett
crushed our soul on that one. So because he's not a rapid fire kind of guy, is he?
No, he's much more of a sniper. He's not a rapid fire guy.
Take your time. Yeah, measure the wind. Get your Is
Christmas a time that's this? We're not. But is Christmas something that's, are you a Grinch, or are you somebody that's looks forward to Christmas? Or
no, I'm not a Grinch. I look forward to Christmas. I don't, at different points in my life, maybe a little more or a little less than others, these. I don't think I've put a tree up at the house in a long time or anything like that. But
see mine.
Yeah. But I do enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite Christmas?
Favorite Christmas? I mean, shit. I don't know about that. Like, honestly, I bet I can't answer it just in so much as it's one that stuck out, and having been such a music fan, and like we were talking about my dad playing records. I remember the Christmas I got my own like real stereo. Not not the Smurfs record player anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
the sound design.
Yeah.
Panasonic.
I'm sure it was something. It was one of those, right? You know, it had the dual tape deck.
Oh, yeah.
12 band EQ and the whole 9 yards. Yeah. I remember.
Phono.
Yeah. I remember Christmas morning that year. I can't remember how old I would have been.
Yeah.
Junior high, surely, something like that.
Yeah.
And like I said, my dad's music that he would generally play was kind of like classic country stuff.
Yeah.
But he had a few rock and roll records in that collection that he just passed down.
Yeah.
With the new stereos. Like, all right. And he's like, and here's Janis Joplin's greatest hits and Gladys Knight and the Pips and Master of Reality, Black Sabbath.
Nice.
And I'm like, all right, now I'm on my way, And
I got some soul. I need some shrooms.
Yeah.
I'm golden.
Yeah, man. So that was good. I never did. I've been such a fan of vinyl as a format from way back then, you know, and you could still buy records, at that point, like in the late 80s or even into the early 90s, even through the grunge movement, like some bands were still putting vinyl out, not everybody, but I bought Lenny Kravitz's Are You Gonna Go My Way on Coke bottle clear vinyl when it dropped, from whatever the music store in the mall was.
Yeah. Record bar.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But I would, so I always was buying records, even when it went away. You know what I mean?
Right.
By the time CDs were a thing and I was like, I had a driver's license in a car, I would drive up to Lost and Found Records and spend Saturday afternoons just digging through used vinyl, because for the cost of a new CD, for the cost of one new CD, I could buy a stack of records.
Yeah, that's true.
Back then,
yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that Christmas stands out just because that kind of like enabled a little more.
Wow,
it enabled a little more.
That's a big one though, man.
Yeah.
That's you're getting some you're getting a little taste of some independence, being able to go to your room and listen to some records.
Yeah, that was nice.
What's the best fair food?
Oh, the best fair food. Holy cow. Man, I'm a sucker for a fresh dip corn dog.
Oh man, that's what everybody says, and I am too.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. That's why I go. And see the ducks go down the slide. That's the only two things I want.
Yeah.
What's the best book you've read?
Ooh.
Probably gonna have to break it down by genre.
Man, that's gonna get that ends up getting kind of tough. I can tell you the book I've read.
What pops into your mind?
Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah.
I mean, I've probably read that a half dozen times, cover to cover, and it's rare that I reread something, but that one continues to come around.
Yeah.
I think part of that was, actually, I'm certain a big part of that was just knowing that, that it had been banned. Like there was so much effort to keep that book out of the hands of kids. Like even when I was in high school, like I wrote my senior high school paper on Catcher, in part, because it still wasn't in the library in Oliver Springs in 1994. You couldn't check out a copy of Catcher in the Rye from the library. It just wasn't there.
May not be able to now.
Shit, there's a whole bunch of shit you're not gonna be able to check out. Coming, right? I think it's coming.
No, man.
But you may not be able to now. I don't know. I was shocked,
Yeah,
at the time. Sorry, I got us off.
No,
I got us off this rapid.
Totally fine.
A rapid fire.
Jamie's was To Kill a Mockingbird. So,
yeah,
there's a lot of older, there's nothing wrong with the classics.
No,
for sure.
And Mockingbird's great.
Yeah, it's as far as classic, what you might put in that category. That's one of my favorite. Grapes of Wrath is another one.
Maybe
Grapes
that's
of Wrath is great.
Well, as far as classic literature go, Grapes of Wrath.
Yeah, I probably got that.
Moby Dick, Huck Finn.
Yeah.
I just read yesterday. It's off the subject a little bit. Somebody rewrote Huck Finn from the perspective of Jim.
Oh, really?
And it's being released this week.
Oh, that'd be
called James, I think.
That would be.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to check it out.
A good read, an interesting read.
I think Mark Twain was a genius. Probably top 3 smartest people ever
for
lived
sure.
in this country.
For sure.
You know, Thomas Jefferson, Mark Twain, and everybody else is kind of Franklin.
Yeah, I called my dad on Father's Day one year. I was on the road and to wish him a happy Father's Day, and I said, I just ran across this Mark Twain quote, and I said I wanted to call you and wish you a happy Father's Day, and read this quote to you. And of course, my dad was just like, "Well, get on with it," you know. That kind of classic dad, you know.
Go for it.
Yeah.
And but the quote is, "At the age of 14, the old man knew nothing, but by the time I turned 21, how much he had learned."
Yeah.
And I always just thought, like, man, that's growing up a son right there.
Yeah.
Of realizing, and then, you know, as we've talked about on through this show of getting older and all these different things that you heard all your life, and you're just like, fuck, they really do come true, don't they? They really do happen.
He did know what he was talking
They
about.
weren't just bullshitting me. If you could live in any decade, which one would it be?
Oh, man. Yeah, that gets a little tricky too. And that's changed, I think, a little over time. I definitely, like, when I was younger, had a fascination with the 60s, as tumultuous as they were.
Wow.
But thinking maybe this is just nostalgia for my own youth or whatever, probably the 1990s.
Yeah.
You know,
we've had several different people, you know, talk about their formidable teenage or young adult years that would be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't think about that when we came up with that question. I wasn't thinking that people would say, oh, when I was 10, so, you know, the 80s or whatever had been my decade. I was thinking more along the lines of 1920s.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be, there are a lot of, I think there are a lot of decades I would like to visit.
Me too. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would love to experience, you know, moments of the past, but like when it comes down to like living in a decade, if that's the question, like which one do you want to live in?
That's like the difference between like Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah.
What's on your mind or what are you thinking?
Right.
Yeah.
Because you might not want to know what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
Two different things.
Well, I mean, that's a good point.
Going back too.
You know what you want to live in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably one that you lived in, so you'd know what it was like. That probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in part, you know, like for me, like thinking about the 90s, like you have a lot of like a modern convenience.
Yeah.
Without some of the following pitfalls that we've gotten in the 21st century, you know, without a cell phone in the pocket, as handy of a tool as that may be, it's only as good as, like any tool, it's only as handy as the person who's using it, you know.
No Pornhub. It was a Sears catalog.
Sears catalog. And you know,
or Cosmopolitan.
I mean,
that's if you got a Cosmopolitan.
Whoa.
That's arguably better. You know, when you're talking, especially if you're talking about access to that at a formidable age, you know what I mean? I don't have any children of my own, but to think about like some of my friends who have raised up kids and are in the process of it, trying to combat instant access to just damn near anything you can put your mind to.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. You can think about stuff we didn't go through or see or be, you know, experience until we were, you know, 16. There's kids doing that at 9 and 10.
Yeah.
You had to work for your porn when you were our age.
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't none of this. You know, it was.
You had to be trading VHS tapes on the school bus.
That's right.
You know,
Steak and Daddy's Playboy.
Listen,
you know,
That rewind button got real.
Boy,
got a real workout.
That's not supposed to rewind.
The slow mo.
Yeah.
Slow mo got a lot of workout. I just will say. I mean, I had 4 good eyes back then too. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so if you had a time machine, where would you go first?
Ooh. Time machine. Where would I go first? If it now or again? Okay. I might be inclined to say something like the late 19th century, say like 1890s or something, kind of like right on the cusp of a new millennia, you know?
Right.
That seems like a thing that there's a lot going. There's a lot going on, and kind of like,
oh, for sure,
you know,
for sure. Would that be somewhere in North America or?
Yeah, North America or Europe. You know, kind of like, yeah, I think about that. There's some, I've also kind of enjoyed some historical fiction.
Yeah.
Set in the late 1800s, kind of like post Civil War era.
Hey, speaking of which, have either of you seen, you watched it? I think we talked about this, not on the show, on one of the shows, but, if either one of you guys seen the Costner movie, The Horizon,
the new one? No, I haven't yet.
I haven't started it yet.
Oh, you haven't? Okay.
You told me it was really something.
Has the second half of it dropped yet?
No,
or is it just the first half?
It's coming out.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I think it's supposed to be maybe any day, or not maybe any day.
Seems like he was going to release them in consecutive years or something.
Yeah.
You know, like.
I thought they were coming out pretty quick.
Me too.
Like it wouldn't surprise me if it is like maybe as we're getting into the holidays or something, right?
That's what I'm thinking.
I think so too.
It's going to be mid to late November. Seems like that. Is what I remember seeing, but it's really good. I wish I would have went to the theaters and seen it, because it would have been nice to see it on the big screen. I mean, not that, you know, because TVs don't have big enough screens now.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not the same.
It is.
It's not the same.
I love the movie theater experience. Yeah. Like,
I do too. I don't understand people that don't like to go to the movies.
I don't either.
Because like that was a treat.
Oh man,
that was what you did.
Yeah, that was the, you know.
What's so damn expensive? I mean, hell, you take another person going on a date, $70.
It is.
You know? Oh, I know.
It is.
You gotta get a cosigner.
Yeah.
For a bucket of popcorn.
So did you guys ever fuck with Movie Pass? Do you remember that? Or I mean, it's around again. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
I've heard of it.
So I have that now, and the way it works now is a little different than the way it was then. But for example, like my situation with it is you got kind of like tiers. It's a lot of the individual theaters have now offered these subscription services or whatever. You pay X amount for the year, for the month, or whatever. You can go watch movies at at a Regal or something.
Right,
you know,
right.
It's kind of that. And now it's sort of like this tier base. I'm like, say at the lowest one, I get X amount of credits to use, and depending on the movie and the day of the week and the time and all of that, it costs X amount of credits, but it's like $10 a month, and I'll definitely get more than that value out of it.
Right.
So it's a subscription service, basically.
Right. So
like Audible, where you can get credit. Yeah.
So at that, on average, what it does at that tier for me, if I take advantage of it, like you can roll up to 2 months worth of credits at any given point. So it averages to be about worth 3 movies every 2 months somehow, which is not bad for,
that's not bad.
You know,
$10,
3 movies for $20 over the course of 2 months. That ain't bad.
No.
But in those, when they first rolled this thing out, whatever year that was, it seemed too good to be true, and it ultimately failed because for $10 a month you could go to as many movies as you could go to.
Right.
So there was a little while there where I was watching a whole bunch of I was watching movies I didn't even give a damn about because I had to kill 2 hours one afternoon.
Sure.
Like, well, I guess.
And being on the road, that's a perfect thing to do.
Yeah.
Perfect thing to do.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, man, you got a nice, cool air conditioning spot. You can go to sleep.
Yeah.
$12 bucket of popcorn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why not?
That's where they get you, boy.
Speaking of Costner, I saw Dances with Wolves in the theater.
Yeah.
With intermission, the whole 9 yards, you know, had changed the reel out.
Yeah. That was amazing.
That experience.
I really like that.
I seen that one, and then I seen the Hateful Eight.
Yeah, I saw that in the theater too. Was that 78 millimeter?
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Right.
And this was the he did. There was a week before it dropped that they did a road show, and it was, or maybe 2 weeks, I can't remember, but they basically went to all the different places that had IMAX screens.
Yeah,
and showed them on the original projectors. Like they went and got projectors and rebuilt them. Yeah, they rebuilt all these projectors. So it was I can't remember what the numbers were. Say there were like 20 theaters, you know, over the across the U.S. and they had the bigger screen so they could show it on the 70 or whatever. What was it again?
I think it was 78 millimeter.
I think it was 78 millimeter.
Yeah.
But they could show it on the actual
on the
projectors.
Projector. Yeah.
70. So it was just extra big.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw one of those.
And they did that here in Knoxville at Turkey Creek.
Yeah.
And man, it was amazing. It was amazing. It had a little dust bunny up in the corner of the screen. You know, you could see the guy's finger come through and wipe it out. You know, it was so fucking cool. Same movie they recorded Ben-Hur with was what they shot that movie with.
Yeah.
Another
no, it was 170 millimeters.
Is that what it was?
I think it was. Yeah, it was bigger than 70.
Yeah,
I think it was like 170 millimeter. Anyway,
but that was cheap.
That
that wide one. It's such
a good movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good. I really enjoyed the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I did too.
Everybody's like, "Who's this?" I'm like, it's the name of it's in the fucking title, you morons. It's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Yeah, but I really liked it too.
We talk about it all the time. You get back to your questions, but movies, that's an art form that's going to go away.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that the money doesn't add up for them to build these essentially cathedrals, you know, to house people in and whatever. They're either going to have to profit share for Regal or whatever. It's just going to go away because it's so convenient now just to, like I said, you know, the movies used to take, like, for example, E.T. We all remember that when we were kids. Hell, that didn't come out on videotape for 30 years. You know what I'm saying? You could not watch E.T. except for that once a year that they put it on TV. You could not watch it.
Yeah.
You know, and now, like that, the Horizon thing's on at Max already. It's out.
Oh, yeah.
It can be watched on HBO.
Well, there's some during some of those COVID years too. Like, was it Warner Films? They were dropping new releases on Max like day of release, like the day in theaters, and something changed. And this has been before COVID even, and I can't remember what year or cite the source, but there was some like article or an NPR piece or something like that. They were talking about how the culture has changed so much from, say, the 80s to present day, whereas like when we were all growing up, dinner was at home almost exclusively. It was real rare to go out to dinner.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But you go out for entertainment. You'd eat at home and you go out for entertainment. And that's completely opposite now. Like,
yeah,
everybody's eating out not nearly as many people are cooking meals for themselves and their families at home.
Sure.
Folks are eating out, but all of the entertainment is in the house. It's video games and streaming services and
it's convenient.
You know, and a phone.
It's convenient.
And people are watching movies and looking at their phone at the same damn time.
Yeah.
You know, like how many screens we got to watch at one time to kind of satiate this sort of, attention span.
I don't know how many times I got something on the screen here, but I'm working on something else.
Yeah. I think we're all guilty of it.
Oh,
we all do
it all the time.
I sit down and send email after email, the last 3 or 4 nights, but I've always had something on.
I let the rifleman play all day long in my office.
Yeah.
I know every line of the rifleman, every episode. Man. So I think the other thing that's killed it's television, which is crazy, but television now started with The Sopranos. They started filming it in 24 frame. It started looking like that. And now they can take a story that was 2 hours and they can spread it over 20 hours and get all that advertising dollars.
They can absolutely do that. And there's some real good series.
Oh yeah.
They're
it's incredible.
It's the golden age of kind of like serial made for TV or made for streaming kind of storytelling like that.
Yeah, especially drama TV, that genre,
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible.
Until you start to talk about like network TV and all that's going to more and more toward like reality programming and that kind of thing. You don't have to pay anybody. You're not paying, union writers to create a story or actors like you got.
And you're not paying insurance.
Yeah.
For SAG.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing.
Yeah. The money aspect of it's going to kill the movies in the theaters. They're just not going to. Real estate's too expensive. They can't. They just can't survive. Go ahead.
Well, way to pick us up there.
Oh, you're welcome. Would you like another dose of optimism?
Shut up.
Oh man.
You can meet one man and or one woman from history. Who are they?
From history.
Yeah.
Or just somebody who's lived.
Yeah.
I Chris Christopherson.
Okay.
It's a good one.
That's the first thing that comes to mind. Now, there's a laundry list of folks that'd be interesting. I mean, it'd be interesting to talk to Nikola Tesla.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't understand it, but it'd probably go over my head. But I'd be interested.
Yeah,
I'd be interested in what that dude knows that
absolutely.
we don't know.
My first question would be: so, what do you think about this Edison guy?
Yeah,
that would be question number one.
Yeah.
What was your first car?
69 Pontiac Le Mans.
Nice.
Oh man,
what's your dream car?
69 Pontiac GTO Judge.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah. I got pretty close.
Yeah,
you did, man. You come out of the gate strong. Damn.
You did. Let's see. I see this is Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Yeah, all the way.
Yeah.
Are you a wrestling fan?
I was as a kid.
Okay. Who's your when somebody asks you when somebody says wrestler?
Oh man. If somebody says wrestler.
Or your favorites,
I mean Macho Man.
Yeah.
For sure.
Ooh, yeah.
Andre the Giant. For sure.
No more baby oil.
Yeah.
I love Andre.
Those two hated each other too.
Yeah.
They just thoroughly did.
Yeah, that's good ones. I loved Andre.
Let's give him the movie one. He's a movie guy. Top movies.
Okay. Well, we're getting there. Favorite actor?
Favorite actor. Favorite modern era actor is probably Christian Bale.
Yeah. He's pretty phenomenal.
He's pretty amazing. Classic or older. I mean, Brando is notable, stand out. I've always loved Pacino too. Yeah. He's got he's just released a memoir, an autobiography. I'm interested in.
Seen an interview with I watched the whole thing with him and Conan.
Okay,
on Conan's podcast.
Yeah.
Called Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend.
Yeah.
And
it's great.
It's really good.
Okay.
Really good. The book looks super duper interesting.
Yeah, I'm interested in that.
Just from some of the few things they shared on there, it was seemed like it'd be really good. Favorite albums. Yeah.
Oh man.
And they don't have to be like I say, it's just more the
Redheaded Stranger.
Yeah. It's a good one.
Monk's Dream. Thelonious Monk. Appetite for Destruction.
Yeah.
Best debut rock album of all time.
Man.
Is it not?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
it's certainly in my lifetime for sure.
Yeah.
That came out.
All killer, no filler, man. It's a top to bottom record.
Golly.
I can put that on any given day and be just as happy as I was in 1987 when it came out.
Too.
Beer
for it.
Not again it.
Not again it. Not at all. Man, favorites are always hard. I'll drink a lot of like IPAs, but really when it comes down to it, like if I had to narrow it down, like what beer would I have if I had to only have a beer?
Yeah.
I'd probably end up going with like a Guinness.
I like it. Mother's Milk.
Yeah.
Okay. Movie themes. Yeah. What do you think of when somebody says movie themes?
I mean, I like a good gangster movie for sure.
You talking about music themes? The music.
Yeah, sorry.
The musical themes.
Yeah, like music.
Oh,
music
like movie. Oh, okay.
Soundtrack.
Like a movie soundtrack or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's soundtracks, we've been talking about Tarantino earlier, like the soundtrack for Reservoir Dogs and the soundtrack for Pulp Fiction are great. But like that's different than movie themes though. You talk about movie themes, you can kind of hit me with any of those old Bond themes. They were always just perfectly stylized. Yeah.
Or anything that John Williams ever did.
Yeah.
Anything. Ever. Yeah. Oh man. They do, the Nashville Symphony will sometimes do, the soundtrack for films like John Williams soundtracks. I think they've done Star Wars or Return of the Jedi or Empire or something. E.T. And I've never gotten to go. Every time it comes around, I'm like, shit. That would
be pretty fun.
I'd like to do something like that. Yeah.
What about
Indiana Jones? Holy shit! There's another.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Talk about a great. Oh man,
the Superman theme too from the Christopher Reeve ones was just so good.
Favorite Christmas movie?
A Christmas Story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my favorite too.
Yeah. How can it not be, man? That's
it's life, isn't it?
Yeah.
To a T.
Yeah. So great.
Horror movies.
Okay. I I enjoy a good horror. The Shining.
That's what Wayne said.
Yeah. Wayne Bledsoe said The Shining.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stephen King hates it, but it's still great.
It's such a good movie.
Kubrick's a genius too.
It is such a good movie.
Yeah.
Saturday morning cartoons.
Well, I don't know if it was on Saturday mornings, but like Masters of the Universe.
All right.
I was a He-Man kid.
You were one of those little bastards.
Yeah.
So was Nate Barrett.
Yeah, Nate loved
big
it.
into He-Man still.
Yeah.
Are you a boxing fan?
I enjoy watching a boxing bout. Fan is maybe a little strong. Like I don't have the fandom in the way that it would that you would think of. Like when you think of fandom, like I can't tell you any kind of statistics or anything like that. But like I do enjoy watching that, and I enjoy watching boxing like far more, and I mean far more than MMA or any of that. Like I think there's a grace to it that is lost with kind of like modern, you kind of mixed martial arts vibe.
Right.
I agree with that. I was just thinking that very thing because I was listening to Rogan talk about that.
Yeah.
Because he's obviously MMA, but he's also a boxing fan too. So I think you're going to see the most watched boxing event in history. November 15th. Tyson and
Paul.
Yeah. Because it's streaming live on Netflix.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah, it is.
And if they take it seriously,
Man.
like those two, if they actually fight, I think it's going to be. I think Tyson's going to wipe the damn floor with.
I hope Tyson hits him so hard that his lips fly off.
Yeah, yeah. He might come out of it with one less ear. You never know, dude.
Yeah, I just said you wasn't a boxing fan.
Go on.
There's a cool little there's a cool little bar, and it's still open. The dude died, and I can't remember his last name, so the story's probably not worth a damn. But there's a cool little bar right off of Times Square called Jimmy's Corner. It's a shotgun bar. Beer's still cheap, and Jimmy was famous like boxing trainer. I mean, I think he worked with Ali. I think he worked with a bunch of kind of like notable boxing stars.
Yeah.
But the first time I had a buddy in New York who is a big boxing fan and also really liked that bar, who took me down there. One of the first times I ever went to New York, and Jimmy was still alive and talking and in there kind of holding court and telling stories.
Yeah, that's awesome. You have to get the papers.
Jimmy 2 times.
Jimmy 2 times. Gotta get the papers. Mob movies, since we went there.
Mob movies. I love Godfather. First one, but shit, there's been a bunch of great mob movies. Goodfellas, clearly. Once Upon a Time in Brooklyn's solid.
Oh man,
that is a real good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that the one that had De Niro and he was the bus driver?
Yeah, De Niro.
Yeah, that's a great one.
That's called Bronx Tale.
That was Bronx Tale.
Yeah.
The one with De Niro.
Time in Brooklyn.
It's Once Upon a Time in America.
In America.
Yes.
And it's got De Niro in it, and it's fantastic. I'll tell you one that I was thinking
but
of.
I really loved the Bronx.
I think it was Bronx Tale I was thinking of, and I just got it kind of
That's the one where his son gets involved with I'll tell you one I really love that's newer ish that's a mob movie is Road to Perdition.
Oh, Road to Perdition is great.
I love that one.
That's great.
I think Newman in that is just that's a good flick right there.
Have you read it? I've not either.
I have read the Godfather book, and I've also read the one that the Goodfellas was based upon.
Okay,
and,
I've not.
They're both real good. When you said Pacino, and I knew he was going to say The Godfather when he said his favorite actors were Brando and Pacino, but I think Pacino got screwed out of that. He should have won the Oscar for that. Brando's great, but Pacino's transformation from beginning to end is anyway.
Well, not to. I mean, this is not really a spoiler, but in that book, he talks about almost like they were going to let him go.
Wow, that'd have been a mistake
because he was playing Michael's part to make that change.
Uh-huh.
And leading up to that, they're just like, this guy's a star. I mean, his part's just laying there, so to speak,
Yeah.
Right.
But he talks about that in that new book.
I've got to get a hold of that.
Yeah, they
man.
do.
Yeah, I heard that on the interview with Conan. Movie villains.
Oh, man, movie villains. I did grow up watching all those Bond movies, man.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about movie villains? There was a bunch of great Bond villains. But shoot, I don't know. If I've got to answer it quick, I'm going to just probably end up saying Dr. No.
Yeah.
Just because it's such a classic, it's a classic Connery Bond and, archetypal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about movie heroes?
Oh, man. Movie heroes. I don't know. We might have to circle back around to that.
They're harder to come by these days. The anti-hero is very popular.
The anti-hero is very popular. I mean, John Wayne in True Grit comes to mind.
Yeah.
But then you think putting it into the Westerns world, and it is more of an anti-hero, like Emilio Estevez is Billy the Kid in Young Guns.
Yeah.
I saw that character as a hero.
I love him.
I
wanted to be a Billy the Kid.
Man,
Man, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, favorite Western?
Bunch of good Westerns. It really might be Young Guns. I really love that movie.
Yeah.
To this day. And that honestly, that might be
in that time
that
period
might be some
too,
nostalgia too, for kind of like when it hit me, but in more recent years, I mean, it was what was Jeff Bridges in the True Grit remake? I thought that was a solid.
I thought
that was a solid remake.
Yeah.
But shit, we talked about Dances with Wolves. Holy shit, what a great movie that was.
Yeah. I mean, there's,
if you like Westerns, there's so many to pick. It's like you could just his villain on when we did this list for ourselves was Little Bill from Unforgiven.
Oh man,
what a piece of shit!
Chicken talk about shit. What a great movie!
Yeah. And you talk about an anti-hero that you just at the end of it, money is your guy. So
dude, I rewatched that not that long ago.
It's tremendous.
I mean, shit, Tombstone.
Oh
yeah,
golly.
Unforgiven is one of the few films I've seen twice in the theater. Yeah. I saw it twice in the theater.
Yeah.
Once Upon a Time in the West.
Oh,
Once Upon a Time in the West is great. Yep.
Searchers.
That close up of Henry Fonda's eyes, man. And him being the villain.
Yeah.
Damn. That's cold.
Well, that's what I was
cold, man.
That's what I was telling it was Brandon Fuson was talking about Grapes of Wrath. If you've not seen Henry Fonda in the Grapes of Wrath, same thing.
Yeah.
It's the eyes, man. It's like
unbelievable. You a video game guy?
Not so much. I mean, I like the old games, man. I'm a pinball guy.
I knew that.
I'll play pinball all damn day.
Forgot about that.
God, man, speaking of pinball and in Nashville too. There's a place in Nashville.
Oh yeah.
I was telling you about this. We went this year. I can't think of the name of it. I'll find it and I'll shoot it to you. But You walk in, and they're a pinball dealer. That's what they do. They sell machines, but they got this warehouse full of like hundreds of brand new looking machines that are old. Like you go through there, and plus all these video games from when we were kids, you know, Star Wars and Pole Position.
Is it in Nashville or is it in Smyrna?
I think it's in Nashville.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll have to look.
But they're for sale, or they're
for sale, but you also
like
go in, you pay
come in there and
you pay $10 and you play all the video games. But see, no, I'm sorry. They don't charge you to come in. The video games are free. You only have to pay for pinball. Okay. And they sell drinks and stuff. Man, it's incredible.
Okay. They're selling drinks. It's not the place in Smyrna.
Yeah.
Unless they've changed how they do it.
Yeah, no, this place is in like a warehouse, and it's you can tell it's set up to be touristy, but man, there, and there's a place in the Pinball Hall of Fame and a museum in Vegas is incredible.
Yeah.
Man,
I've been to that.
Yeah. And they've moved it recently. It used to be towards town. Now it's down at the end of the strip.
The thing with that, what is a bummer about the Pinball Museum in Vegas is a lot of those machines are in various states of like disrepair.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And that's a disappointment. Like you'll see something like maybe you've never played before, just something that looks real cool, and you're like, well, that left flipper don't work at all.
Yeah.
You know, but
yeah, they are quick to give you your money back there though. They'll like if you lose a quarter or whatever, they'll get back to you. That place in Nashville, though, everything is pristine. I'm talking about it. It's like walking back into 1984, man. You're like, holy hell.
Figure out where
I'll find
is.
out
Yeah.
where it is.
There's a couple of good spots in, there's a couple of good spots in Knoxville now, too. Like, I mean, Setry's has a bunch of pinball machines.
Yeah.
But out on the West End, there's a place called Token.
I've been there. It's been several years ago.
Has a bunch of well-maintained pinball machines.
Old school arcades.
Arcades, all that, man. Like, there's two or three of smaller places that's not the place you're talking about. Like, there's a place called No Quarter in East Nashville, and another place in East Nashville called Up Down, I think is what it's called.
This place is called Game Terminal.
Game Terminal. I have not been there.
And it's, I mean, all the reviews are saying the same thing. It's 201 Terminal Court, Nashville.
Okay.
And man,
I know what I'm doing next time I'm out that way.
It's incredible. It's free.
Yeah.
I mean, the pinball, you got to pay per play on the pinball machines, but all of the arcade stuff, is free.
$10 roll of quarters.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it's,
if they still take it, they probably got a
little debit swapper.
I can't remember, but man, it's incredible.
I like that pinball's coming back. Like I found, like, as I was on the road, that it was easier to come across pinball machines in the Midwest. You know, like you get up like around St. Louis, Kansas City, Chicago area, but even like out in the smaller towns, but like in the Midwest, it was, you know, pretty good chance of even just in a bar room might have one or two pinball machines in it, which seems like it went away in the South.
Yeah.
But now it's starting to really kind of take root again. You're seeing more and more places in the South with not only like one beat up old machine in the corner, but like maybe a wall of them. Like Setry's got, I don't know, what do you reckon they got? 12 or 15?
Fuck if I know.
Something like that. They got
I ain't never been in the joint.
Really? They got
it's
quite
been
a few
years ago, but I haven't been in there recently for sure. What's your favorite ice cream?
Oh, vanilla.
Yeah?
Yeah. Or a vanilla bean.
Okay.
You know.
It's hard to beat vanilla bean.
Man, it is. Yeah.
I always give the ice cream thing when we get to that point, but if you've not been to Sugar Queen Creamery off Chapman Highway,
hey, I've not.
You need to go. It's the best ice cream I've ever had. And let me tell you, I've had a shit ton of ice cream. I'm not kidding you, man. It's unbelievable.
Nice.
He had an atomic fudge sundae at
Chicago.
In Chicago.
Big as that damn mixer right there. And they give me hell about it.
What was the name of that place?
Named after a lady. It was like a lady's name. It'd been there 100 years, this place. Mm-hmm. Walk in and I was like,
they had a neon of a banana split.
Nice.
Are you kidding?
That kind of place.
I'm like, this is where we got to go.
They brought me out this damn Sunday like this, and if I'd had a damn chef spoon, I'd have eat it with that, man.
Yeah.
And they're like, I can't believe it. And these two older couple, probably in their mid-70s, each got one. I was like,
yeah.
Hey, I ain't messing around. You're going to go to Chicago to eat ice cream, eat the damn ice cream.
Oh, hell
man.
yeah. No, it was incredible.
Yeah. I love it.
All right. So this is called What's the Truth? And these are rapid fire.
Okay.
Is there life on other planets?
Yes.
Is old music better?
No.
Bigfoot?
No.
Sitting too close to the TV?
Bad.
Is karma really a bitch?
Absolutely.
Is later, pardon me. Did you razor blades and Halloween candy?
Did I have any?
Yeah.
Never.
Is later Beatles better than early Beatles?
Yes.
Is vinyl really better?
Depends on the system.
Bingo.
Do blondes have more fun?
No.
Are dogs and cats? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Does full moon really make people crazy?
No.
Magic, real or
I think there's some element of like mental, like the mentalists can do some cool stuff. I don't know if that's exactly magic or, but I think there's some people that who can tap into some things that other people can't tap into.
All right. Did we go to the moon?
Yes.
Is there an afterlife?
I don't know.
Ghosts?
Yes. So I guess that answers the previous question.
Have you got a good ghost story?
I don't, and to be honest, I don't really even know. Like I don't know if that was a rapid fire answer, and I said yes. But yeah. I mean, I don't have a good ghost story. I've had situations where I get a sense of a thing, but not anything, tangible. It's funny. My mom has a couple of ghost stories, which is funny. Yeah.
Jamie's got a couple.
Oh, I've seen two.
Yeah.
Can't talk me out of it. I was there.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you what, I've talked to enough people, who are reliable narrators say absolutely it's all thing. And I'm like, I don't know. I tend to believe people when they tell me they're sure about a thing.
Well,
for the most part,
they give you a reason not
unless
to.
Unless they prove themselves untrustworthy.
Did aliens visit Earth? Have aliens visited Earth
ever? I think it's as likely as not. But I don't know what that might mean.
I don't either. Is the Earth round?
Absolutely.
Do hitmen exist?
Yes.
Are all men created equal?
Are all men created equal?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
We'll get your results. We'll ship them to you. Let you know how you did.
That's it. And that's that.
Do you have any questions for us?
That's all.
Oh boy.
Well, Matt, it's been a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, buddy.
And I'm really looking forward to the Christmas show. Again, that is December 22nd at the Bijou Theater. Doors will open at 6. Show starts at 7 to 9.
Which is different than normal. It's usually later, right?
Yeah, don't confuse them.
Yeah. Well,
and don't confuse the humanoids this close to Christmas.
Okay.
As Bobby the Brain
when do those tickets go on sale?
They are going to be on sale, I believe. I'll have to look. I think it's the I want to say it is the pre-sale goes on at the 11th. Sorry, give me just a second here, folks, and we'll make sure. That's not it. Maybe this is. That's not it. Maybe this is. That's not it. Fuck.
Well, he's looking that up. When they do
Jamie.
When they do go on sale, you can buy them more than one way. You can buy them online, but there's a fee involved. So it's like a Ticketmaster fee.
Sure.
But if you go over there if you're looking at the Tennessee Theater, on the side, walking down like you're going to State Street Garage, there's a ticket office right there, and they handle the ticket sales for the Bijou as well.
Okay.
If you buy them there, you just pay face value and no fee. Okay. So I always tell people, hey, just park in the garage, walk 30 steps the hill and get your tickets. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
So
quit giving Ticketmaster any damn money.
Yeah. I mean, and it's, tickets are how much? I forget what their price was. But I mean, you literally add 50% if you get it on Ticketmaster.
It's wild, man.
Something's got to be done about that. I'm an anti-regulation kind of person, but I'm telling you, they're going to price themselves and artists out of the market. I mean, Taylor Swift tickets are $1,000. Now listen, I wouldn't pay $1,000 to see Elvis stand on this table and play right now.
Yeah.
Resurrected. Would you?
No, he'd be all contorted and
be old as hell.
Do his hips, rigor mortis would be all set in and stuff. I mean, no, I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
Fucking weirdo.
Well, people have been, people have been kind of pointing out the issues with Ticketmaster for a long time now. And somehow it's only gone one direction, like Pearl Jam was fighting them in the 90s, but since then, like that particular corporation or corporate entity or whatever has only gained more and more market share and more control over merging with Live Nation when it was Clear Channel and Live Nation when first partnered 15 years ago, there were kind of like news reports talking about how basically they were manipulating the market in, like, say, in Denver is where I heard this news, where big enough acts like radio bands, were being forced into Live Nation venues with threat of pulling them off the air on Clear Channel radio stations. You come through this market, which everybody has to do to cover that space to get out to and from the West Coast from anywhere else in the country. Like you'll either play the Live Nation venue, or we'll pull you off the radio in the Denver.
Yeah, fucking extortion.
It is exactly that.
It's crazy.
And I think instead of kind of like combating it, it's been allowed to kind of like grow even stronger. The Live Nation, Ticketmaster, iHeartRadio conglomerate or whatever else is.
Well, they're letting these folks
$1,000 for any damn concert ticket is too, man. Like I'm not paying $1,000 to see Elvis, even if he wasn't contorted in all.
Yeah, but I can remember when Michael Jackson with the Victory Tour came to Knoxville, where you're kids, $50. It was at Neyland Stadium, $50, and we were like, $50?
Yeah,
Jesus Christ, and now you can't get two beers now for $50.
I'll tell you what you can get for $50.
Here it is.
You bunch of curmudgeon and old motherfuckers.
Did you find your place over there?
Oh, Peepaw found his place finally. December 22nd at the Bijou Theater. It is the Mike McGill's 12th annual Christmas Spectacular. Announcing Monday, November the 11th, with a pre-sale on Wednesday, November 13th, and the public sale on Friday, November 15th. Ticket prices are $20, and what that $20 will provide 60 meals for a underprivileged child here in East Tennessee.
Yes,
Two of them would be, 120 meals. It's basically $3 meals per every dollar. And Second Harvest got it dialed in so well because they can they buy at such a cheap rate because they have like a 15,000 square foot warehouse.
Yeah.
So they can buy in pallets and they can buy in bulk. And $100 feeds a kid for an entire year.
Yeah.
And 1 out of 8 kids still go hungry. And that serves 19 counties over rural East Tennessee. So you can come out and hear some really good music from people like Matt, Jody Manross, Michael Cover, Red Shoes and Rosin, myself, Jamie, and the rest of the Refills band, and have a great night. Starts early. You'll be out early. We're working on maybe doing an after party at Barley's. Stay tuned for all that. But bottom line, kids ask for a lot of things for Christmas, but they don't ever ask to go to bed hungry. I hope yours don't, and I hope the rest of them don't. And it would please me. Nothing would please me more to put Second Harvest out of business.
Yeah.
And they make, and to interject here, the tickets make great Christmas gifts.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Look, you $20. One year I went out and I thought, well, I'm going to buy a bunch of Christmas gifts. And I bought like 20 tickets and I just hand them out. Most of them came, some of them didn't.
Yeah.
It's not about, yes, we want to pack the place out, but if we sell 1,000 tickets and only 500 people can get in there, just know it's a good cause.
Oh, yeah.
$20,000. You said $100 feeds a kid for a year.
Yeah.
Do the math.
And, in the 8 years that we've been doing it, the 7, because we don't have, obviously we've not done it this year, but in the 7 years we've made it, as we have made it into a fundraiser, we've raised enough money to create 100,000 meals. So, show up, be there. And I can promise you this, it's going to be a total professional show. I mean, there's production value. We got the best sound, in the city. The lights, the whole deal. And it's just for such a great cause. And, like I say, $20 tickets, and the rest. So you want to do another one?
Absolutely.
Matt, you're welcome back anytime.
Yeah, man.
We'll be, definitely be seeing each other on the 22nd. And, folks, especially right now, we've covered this on the Saturday morning edition, but especially right now, if more than any other time, we, the people, need to be for we, and be kind to one another. It costs nothing to be kind, but there's certainly a price that'll be always paid for cruelty.
Yep.
Anybody can be an asshole. So, and it don't take a lot of work not to be one. So, that's it. That's that. You heard it here first. Cheers. One more for the good guys. You either is or you ain't. You do or you don't. You can or you can't. Or you will or you won't. Either way, baby, a good man, well, he's hard to find.